Hi you guys, this is Allison. It's time for another layout in my Space to Craft. And this is a page kit. It's actually the last page kit that I had put together in my 2010 album. And this is Field Day for my daughter. I have a bunch of ephemera that I've pulled. I won't end up using all of that. I have some mats. I get a little creative with a couple of those mats. And I think I've adapted my title to be a little more interesting, Field Day Fun. I've pulled some arrows. I don't end up using that, and some star dies. I will use those in this video. I have these sparkly green letters, which I think are perfect with it. And then I will also be die cutting some letters as well. So I have really 3 pieces of pattern paper. One is sort of just clouds, one is stars, and one is polka dots. So I pulled out this page maps. It's from August 2024, it looks like. And that, I think, is the one that I'm going to try to adapt. I printed out several of these to take on vacation with me, but I'm going to try and make this one work. I don't do it exactly, but it's sort of close with the paper layout, and then I just adapt my photos to fit. So I have these 2 pieces of paper, so I'm going to cut, and I think I end up cutting the star paper at 4 and 8 inches, and then the other one also at 4 and 8 inches. But I end up doing some trimming in order to save some paper. I also will replace this white cardstock with some cheap scrapbooking paper that I have that I like to use when I'm just backing and I'm putting a full sheet of, piecing together cardstock, and that keeps it from getting too thick and just gives me a base to put the paper on. So I love this blue block. I'm going to use this on one side. I will the cloud paper will come into play in a little while. So I'm just looking at my photos, trying to figure out how I want to lay that out. And I end up doing essentially 2 grids, one on each side, one backed on the blue paper and one backed on white paper. So I'm just checking the photos at this point and jotting down what size I think I can trim them to, so that I have a better idea before I start trimming what I'm going for. So I get a couple of them to 3 by 3, a couple to 3.5 by 4, or 3.5 by 3. So I'm just basically going to trim out a couple of photos. This one I will trim also. And that's just going to help me when I go to cut those. And I do those off camera, that trimming. And then I'm going to cut these papers and make a white block as well. And then we'll come back and see the sort of base layout of this 2-page layout. So here we go. So you can see I have this white. I did gut out some of the star paper. I'm going to use this Kiwi Lane sort of funky scallop template. And then I am trying to think if I want to put another scallop over on the other side, which I do end up doing toward the end. So now it's time to start dry fitting, auditioning some of the ephemera that I have pulled. And as I said, I have a lot of ephemera. I don't end up using all of it, but I do get quite a bit of it to fit. So I have several tags. They're old Creative Memories tags, And none of the main papers are creative memories, but the mats are. And so those, and just the color scheme just happens to go. This little soccer ball is one that I got in a swap. And so I think I'm going to pull that in since there's actually a soccer ball. My daughter never played soccer. She's not really a sporty girl. So I was happy to be able to use that so quickly. So I'm going to go off and cut the letters. First, I'm going to do this Kiwi Lane template. So I just put the template on the back, use a mechanical pencil, and then fussy cut. So that goes pretty well. I didn't ink anything on this page. I maybe could have. I would say probably should have. It would have tied things together. I may end up going back and adding some fussy cutting to some of the, not fussy cutting, some black ink blending to some things. It might help some things pop a little more because I do have a lot of tone on tone. So I'm going to consider that, like especially these letters. I think if I ink them in black and then all the ephemera and little add-on pieces, that it might work out better. So these letters, there is the first time I'd used them. I should have added a shim, I think, to cut clean through on that thin paper. But they're two layered, and so I just cut them twice. I've got an extra set of letters with the opposite, and I just put them in the folder with it. And now I'm going to get a piece of wax paper and put these letters down. They're not super sticky. Hopefully they'll stick. Otherwise I'm going to have to go back onto this page and add some glue. But I'm going to do field day in this. It doesn't quite fit on there, but that's okay. I can still get a feel for where it's going to be. And I'm trying to decide, do I want to do field day all the way over or separate it and do field on the blue and day on the green? And I think that's what I end up with. And that will help it tie into the word fun on the other page, which is also part of the title. So I will end up trimming this little cloud paper. I'm going to use that as a journaling spot. I do some tabbed corners and just trim a little bit of it off so that it fits a little better on that page. There's that fun. So they had a scallop piece on there on the sample page, and so I didn't have a big scallop that I wanted to use on that. Mine's a little fancy big scallop, and so I liked this sort of wonky one. So I'm trying to get a feel, and I have a lot of blue ephemera, and that's when I decide, let's go cut some stars so that I can build those into the clusters and sort of add a little more contrast on some of those clusters. So I have a few stars, and here I've done it out of the dark blue paper, the green matting paper, and then the polka dot paper. And I think that helps a lot. It helps build out the clusters, gives them a little more dimension and depth. This is Sugar and Spice and Everything Nice, and I'm just trimming it up a bit. And rather than one long saying, I'm going to stack those. So I have a few spots of color. You know, my dad is wearing a bright shirt, and then I have that rainbow with bright. I don't really, there's a few little bright colors up in the camera. I didn't really put anything in the bottom two clusters, but I'm okay with that. It's still a cute page. And would it be bichromatic or dichromatic instead of monochromatic? I'm getting close to the final configuration. And at this point, I'm going to go off and tape everything down sort of as it is, and I'll come back to do some enamel dots. I'm just checking I stuck everything down. And then I also pulled the little asterisks off of the green glitter because I wanted to bring that glitter into the other clusters also. So I have 3 of those on in the clusters. And then I'm going to do this cluster is all in green, I think. And then that is the wrong... Oh, that is the blue, and then I'll do a cluster up here in green. And then up at this other cluster, I think I do a mix. I used the wrong green here, so I'm going to switch that out for the correct green. And then here I'm just going to do a mix, a couple of green and a couple of blue, sort of to get them used up. Last little cluster of enamel dots here at the top, and we'll do some close-ups, which I was a little out of frame and then I caught myself. So let's take a look. So you can see that cluster, but then I realize I'm kind of out of frame, so I'm going to pull it down. There we go. So that's a nice cluster and the title, and then a cute little cluster down there. And then the journaling spot with another cluster. And the scallops. And then just another little cluster at the bottom. So please give this video a thumbs up and come back for more on My Space to Craft.